Good afternoon. My name is Danaliz. As Adrian said, I'm a nurse, and nurses are not typically considered first responders. But he wanted me to share what it's like to be a day in my shoes and what nurses deal with overall. Sorry, I don't like microphones. I can handle MCIs. I don't like microphones. I've been a nurse for 25 years. I work at one of our local level 1 trauma centers in the ER and trauma recess. I am a SANE nurse, which stands for Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner or Forensic Nursing. I teach tactical medicine to law enforcement, and I also am a nurse preceptor, so I teach the baby nurses because somebody else aside from ChatGPT has to do this. I usually never speak about work to anybody that doesn't know our environment because they don't understand. I think you can relate to that. If you look on social media, these baby nurses make it look easy with their fitted scrubs, their bathroom selfies, and their wall of cups. You got to keep up with the cups. They look great, but nursing is not easy. Even in nursing, I tell baby nurses, you need to find your niche. Sorry. We call it controlled chaos, because ER and trauma is not for everybody, and forensics even less. As a nurse, you're more than just a caregiver. You advocate for your patient, and you educate them. One of my favorite things is when they tell me, oh, you signed up for this. I can guarantee you I did not know what nursing entailed when I signed up for this. I was young, innocent, naive, and I just wanted to help people. In all my years of nursing, I've been peed on, pooped on, called every 4-letter word you can imagine, thrown up on, spit out, threatened, and even punched, sometimes all in the same shift. In nursing, they teach you the science part of it, but nobody prepares you for the things that you will see, hear, smell, or touch that you will never forget. No one prepares you for the amount of politics, because at the end of the day, it's a business, even though they don't want you to say that. Although schools teach you compassion, it's not something that comes naturally to many people. And you really can't teach that. No one tells you that there's going to be days that you drive home in complete silence because you're in sensory overload. You're tired of the screaming, the crying, the cardiac monitors, the alarms, the overhead paging, the county radios, the 84-degree trauma bays, and the fire and police sirens. Although your world is different, I think you can relate to that too. In my experience, nursing can be very rewarding when you see the positive impact that you have on people. And it's fulfilling when the patients and their families show gratitude, but that's not something that's very common because it's my job after all. On the other hand, it takes a toll on you physically, mentally, and spiritually, and emotionally. Unfortunately, we develop a very jaded sense of humor, and we learn to emotionally detach ourselves. Sometimes you feel guilty for doing so, but self-preservation kicks in. With everything we see, there's times that you just need a moment. When the baby nurses cry, you tell them, walk outside, cry it out, wash your face, and come back. We got patients to take care of. Nurses are human. We're normal people. We have spouses, kids, elderly parents, and a dog or a cat. We have sleepless nights, marital problems, health issues of our own, hobbies, and vices. We have family parties and kids' sports events that we miss because we work weekends, nights, and holidays. We have stress in our personal lives, but we put it in our back pocket when we punch in because we have to take care of everybody else with compassion, empathy, and without judgment. Many times you don't have time between critical patients. In all my years, I've seen one critical incident debriefing, and I wasn't part of it because I was still in a trauma. It's almost as if we bandage others' wounds while we're internally bleeding ourselves. We're nurses, right? We should know what self-care is. Most of us don't. We're not very good at prioritizing our own well-being. Dehydration is really common because of the demanding nature of the job. Sometimes you've gone through half your shift, you haven't gone to the bathroom, you haven't eaten, and you haven't drank water. I like to say I run on Jesus and coffee. Some of our workplace stressors are short staffing, nursing shortages, demanding work schedules, 12-hour shifts, lack of organizational support, and continuous exposure to human suffering, which makes us susceptible to burnout and compassion fatigue. We also face barriers and fear of stigma in searching for help. How can you be unwell? You take care of people all day. Research shows that nurses experience anxiety and depression at a greater level than the general population. This was evident during COVID. A lot of nurses committed suicide during COVID. A lot of them left bedside. About 100,000 nurses left bedside during COVID. Some committed suicide because of the fear of the unknown. We had no idea what we were dealing with. And others because they couldn't handle with the fact that we were leaving people to die alone. Where's the compassion in that? How can you do that to somebody? ER and trauma are not for the weak of heart or stomach. If you're visiting me at work, you're usually having a bad day. In fact, you might be having the worst day of your life. I can sit here and share stories for days, some funny, some tragic, and some stories you just can't make up. But I'll just give you a few examples. My kids laugh at me. My younger one tells me, "Mom, how can you see blood, guts, brains, and broken bones, but you can't see boogers?" Every nurse has limitations. Phlegm and boogers are mine. Fire rescue has handed me arms, legs, teeth, and even an eyeball. I've had family members break out into fistfights over a dead body. There was a day at work that I had a pediatric cardiac arrest, and I walked out of that room, and the gentleman in the next room insulted me because I forgot to get him socks. Until this day, I can tell you that that pediatric cardiac arrest was a 1.5-year-old little boy, blonde, blue-eyed. As his mom sat in that chair, she told me, "I want to carry him," and I handed her his lifeless body, still in wet shorts because he drowned in a jacuzzi in the backyard. There's things you don't forget. I've had to call somebody on the phone and say, "Hey, your family member had a car accident." What I couldn't tell them was that they were dead. After he died, I dressed up a little old man in a pair of slacks, a Guayabera shirt, and a fedora hat because his wife of 60 years wanted to see him one last time like that, and he was going to be cremated. I did that for her. I got called in one night for SANE for a case of a 14-year-old little girl who had been sexually assaulted. As I walked into the room and I introduced myself, her mom ran to me crying consolably, grabbed me, and said, "Do you have kids? You got to keep a straight face. You got to hold your emotions, but you have to have compassion and empathy." At that moment, the little girl's not your only patient, her mom is too. I've had Leos in my trauma bay. I've had coworkers and their kids in my trauma bay. No pressure. We witness life-changing events in people's lives. One of the things that stays with you is that you hardly ever get the full story. Police has a story, rescue has a story, and then you end up on my stretcher. Sometimes we sit and we try to put the pieces together so that we can better process them. There's one that made me cry all the way home one day. It was a 16-year-old boy, looked just like my son. He was playing basketball. He was here visiting from another country. He was playing basketball, jumped, dunked the ball. The hoop and the whole board fell on him. His friends pulled it off of him. He stood up and he collapsed. We worked that child for 2 hours to no avail. I had full-grown police and fire rescue standing in the corner of that room, crying while we tried everything we could. Those are the times that you wonder, was there anything else that we could have done to save him? I couldn't imagine his mother's grief when she got that phone call because she was in a different country. Needless to say, I hugged my kids a little tighter that day when I got home. Ironically, the job teaches some of us to appreciate life, count our blessings, enjoy the little things, and make every moment count. Sometimes it pulls at your heartstrings a little extra, but you train your mind to be stronger than your emotions. Overall, I believe that we need to take care of ourselves a little more emotionally, spiritually, physically, and mentally for ourselves and for our families. In doing so, remember to give yourself a little grace because you cannot pour out of an empty cup. I think we all know Jeremiah 29:11 that says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Regardless of your job description, title, rank, or position, it is not a coincidence that each and every one of us is in this room today. This is part of God's plan. If you know me, you know that I say we're all broken, but we all have a story and we all have a purpose. Our story was never meant to be easy. It matters and it's meant to be impactful. God can use your story to help someone else through theirs. It sounds cliche, but our tears are scars, and our tests turn into our testimony. And as believers and followers of Christ, our testimony can inspire others to leave behind what suffocates them and to hold on to the one that sustains them. I pray that we find rest and comfort in his sovereignty, his faithfulness, and in knowing that he doesn't want us to do this alone. 1 Corinthians 15:58 says, "Be steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." I hope you're encouraged today. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for letting me share.